You want to throw a quick score at us for Sunday night or no?
Of course I do. Yeah. I don't think about these things beforehand. I think it's going to be 37-26 Buffalo. Yeah.
Okay.
37-26.
Another
We're
10
recording
plus.
this. We can play it back. Yes, they're winning by 11 points, and all hell is going to break loose in Kansas City. 37-26. Play it back next week.
Wow, that would be their fourth straight 10-plus point victory.
The tattered remains of the Chiefs.
Pretty darn close he was. He was only off by a touchdown, and if you count the Micah Hyde interception return, that's the extra 7 points there that he probably didn't account for. But Kyle Brandt was pretty close to being on the money, and here we are. Kyle, they win by 18, and as Steve pointed out earlier on our show here, it's a 32-point swing from the AFC title game that the Bills lost by 14 to a win in Week 5 by 18. I know every year is different. These two teams have changed, but as you mentioned last week, you saw the Bills as still an ascending team. The Chiefs have probably leveled off, although they're still in a pretty good place. But where does this game leave you in terms of your look at the AFC pecking order? Sorry, that was a very long-winded question.
That's okay. I look at the Kansas City Chiefs much like I look at Steve Tasker. It'd be nice if they'd show up to work. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? How long do we have to wait, Steve?
Wow.
I missed you. It's great to see you. Congratulations on everything in your family life. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. I'm not as awesome as you are nailing the pick, before it happens. I'm not on that kind of hot streak, but it's good to be back. It is. Thank you.
Thank you. Listen, I'm not going to take a victory lap, Brownie, on that. I should go on an apology tour to everyone on the Buffalo Bills defense who I insulted by saying they'd give up that many points to what used to be the Chiefs, what really used to be that team. Guys, that was an annihilation. That was never close. It was never in doubt. I thought the Bills were going to win that game. A lot of people did, even on the national broadcast. I don't think anybody thought they were going to win by that much. At Arrowhead against I don't care how bad the Chiefs D's playing. They got players. They got made guys. They got guys who are going to go to the Hall of Fame someday. That was never in doubt. Like, bring me out somebody, bring me a Herbert or Mayfield or Davis Mills or somebody who can give the Bills a challenge. That was an annihilation. I mean, like, if you want a litmus test or where, an absolute annihilation, even in my wildest dreams. And I got some crazy ones. I never thought that Chiefs wouldn't compete. I never thought that game was in contest ever.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The Bills were the better team, no question. Even though it was a weird situation. Got another rain delay, a lightning delay. Yeah. The game took forever to get finished. They'd finished in a driving rainstorm, and there's been some doubt raised by there's always critics out there, even of the Bills. Josh Allen has played really well this year, not as well as he did last year, but he also had 2 games this year in driving rainstorms.
I know.
And still is lighting people up with 38, 43 points a game. We've talked about how this offense really maybe isn't as good as it was last year, isn't as productive, but how much of that goes into the conditions they faced? And certainly they haven't faced a daunting defense yet, but where do you think this offense is right now? Certainly their defense is number one.
Well, Steve, I mean, nobody knows more about conditions than you, and I looked at the play delay in that thing as actually another test. Think about this. So let's go back, if there's been times that games have been stopped and there's rain delays and power delays and all that stuff, and the teams lose their energy. They lose all their mojo. That was a gift to the Chiefs that happened. That was a gift because you're getting killed. Now let's let everybody relax, everybody calm down. No. Like, if anything, the Bills were emboldened by that. They came out even better. I cannot believe, I said this afterwards. The defense of the Chiefs, of course, is pulp. It's terrible. It really is very, very bad, and I don't think they're going to fix it. But my problem with that game, and if you want to talk about the Chiefs' defense, that's the problem itself. There's been so much focus on the Chiefs after that game. What's wrong with the Chiefs? Never mind the Chiefs for a second, because the scariest thing, if you're a Chiefs fan, and I've said this to them myself, that there is nothing wrong with you, that you just are what you are, and the other teams are better. The other teams got much better. Josh Allen is a much better quarterback than he was 2 years ago. Justin Herbert, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, all these guys who are beating them, they're way better than they were a month ago, a year ago. So I don't know what the fix is for the Chiefs. I don't really care. They're a 2-3 team, I think, right now. I don't even know what their record is. I think it's 2-3. Right. The Bills are the problem here for them. And it's not like I know that they don't have the greatest defense in the world. I don't care. When you beat bad teams, like whether it's the Dolphins, whether it's the Texans, if you punish them, then you get the due rewards, and they punish the Chiefs.
It's not the Bills' fault as to how their schedule lays out here, and it's one of the easiest remaining schedules in the entire league. You can't blame them for who they have to play. But after 5 games, Kyle, they're already number 1 in points for and number 1 in points against. Mm-hmm. And after this Titans game, which always seems to be a plucky affair with them, Dolphins, Jags, Jets, I mean, geez, I mean, they could be plus 200 in point differential by the time they get through this next 4 games.
I think the Titans one's interesting, Brownie. If someone were to say, all right, pick one thing on the Bills, they're the best team in the league, I think. I think they're better than the Cardinals with due respect to the Cardinals record. And I know today it's Power Ranking Tuesday and all these outlets are putting the Bills at number 1. And I agree with that. I think they're the best team out of 32. If you could pick one thing that's just a little concerning, like a little weakness in the armor on this team, if I had to pick one, I would say a team that just runs directly at them with brute force, and it's not going to be the pretty passing game, and it's going to be someone like the Ravens or someone like the Titans. That's why I love this matchup, because I don't think anybody can throw with Buffalo. I think the secondary and the pass rush are great. I'm fascinated to see if in the first 7 snaps of this game, if Derrick Henry gets 5 carries, because let's just take a second. I know the game is 6 days from now. I'm not here for the normalization of Derrick Henry. Everyone seems to be, he's just going to do what he does, and he's special. It's beyond special. I've looked this up. In all the 2,000-yard rushers in history, I think there's 8. All of them, the highest they ever had the next year, and the next year was 1,400, and that was Barry Sanders. The smallest drop-off is 700 yards. Derrick Henry is already doing 130 yards a game this year. He's going to go for 2,100 if he even gets close to this. There's never been a 40-game period in NFL history when any running backs had more yards than Derrick Henry over the last 40 games. Not Jim Brown, not Eric Dickerson. He is truly an anomaly who is getting better and better. So do the Bills have the teeth for that? Do they have the spine? Do they have the jaw? I know the secondary is great. The young pass rush looks good. The offense is great. Can they play the slowdown game against the most powerful running back in the game? That's the only place I would point to be like, I'm not sure yet, and we'll find out next Monday.
One of the things we've talked about here, Kyle, is last year it was the COVID game where Tennessee had 19 guys on the COVID list. Yeah. The game was going to be pushed back. It was going to be canceled. It was going to be the 18th week. Then they brought it back, said, no, you're going to play him, and you're going to play him on Monday.
Tuesday.
And then Tuesday. Then you said, no, you're not going to play him on Monday. You're going to play the Chiefs. You're going to move your Week 6 game. You're going to move the Chiefs in. You're going to flip-flop those games, okay? Then you're going to go play Kansas City. And they said, well, wait a minute. We'll tell you exactly what. And then they moved it again, so you're going to play the Titans, but you're going to play them on Tuesday. So this game got yo-yoed around, and the Titans played it like they got reprieve from death row, which is right. They did. They were the pariah. They were going to get canceled from the league. They were the reason the league was going to lose the entire season, and they got a chance to play. And the Bills were forced to go into this leper colony and play with these guys, right? So, and then after the game, it was ugly. The rhetoric coming out of Tennessee, it was
Taylor Lewan.
So Browning, this is my belief. As much as the Chiefs game was a revenge game because of the AFC Championship game,
this one might
there's
be bigger.
A lot of bullets for ammo in Sean McDermott and this coaching staff to get this team really, really revved to play this Tennessee team who laid it to them pretty good last year in a year where they played really well.
And then talk smack after.
And then talk smack afterwards. So it's my thought, and I told Brownie this, I smell a 40 burger from Josh and this crew, because they're going to go in there with a real, particularly if it's a nice night for a change, and they don't have to play in a rainstorm. Knowing what I know about NFL football teams, this is a perfect opportunity for them to flex.
Yeah, a 40 burger fresh off the grill from Tasker. I love it. A lot to unpack there. First of all, when you were recapping last year and all that nonsense and this, I had some sort of post-traumatic thing. I almost fell off my chair about how stressful last season was and what a mess it was. Yeah. Now, isn't it nice that all we have to worry about now on the field, at least, is just nobody can make an extra point? I'll take that all day. I'll take kickers messing up. I don't want rescheduling and proximity this, proximity that. But now I'm starting to think more about Titans-Bills. A couple of things come to mind. I hadn't thought in a while about the infamous Josh Norman play. Like, I know he's moved on before. I know he's moved on, but that one happened on the sideline. The Titans chirped about that. Titans chirped last year. And then I don't know if you guys, Brownie, were you thinking about this last night? We're watching Colts Ravens, and Darius Leonard picks up a fumble and laterals, and they weren't sure if it was a forward or backward lateral, and they were measuring it and going to the replay. And I was thinking of Wycheck all over again because they're getting the geometry out again, and there's Titans Bills. It's all coming up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's
wow. You just threw the Wycheck out. That's like
they
taboo.
They did prove it was backwards, right? To Dyson, I mean, it was, right?
That's still up for debate. Wade Phillips, the coach at the time, still calls it home run throw forward. There is a banner in a bar/tavern that will remain nameless here in Buffalo. It is a blown-up image of the lateral play with a red laser line printed on this thing. It's like 6 feet by 5 feet. It just hangs on the wall. I don't know if it's still there at this local establishment. And it says in all caps, red letters, not a lateral. So that is still a sore subject 21 years later. But the one other thing I wanted to throw at you, too, you talked about Derrick Henry, deservedly so. The guy's killing it right now, even though I think his offensive line isn't as good as it was last year. 19 carries, 57 yards against the Bills last year. 2 touchdowns, but 57 yards on 19 carries. I think the previous year when they won 14-7 in Tennessee in 2019, Bills held him to like 85 yards, I want to say. They've done a pretty good job. They have Starr back, who has already made a difference in this defensive front. I'm kind of leaning on Steve's side of the fence here. I think this is a behind-the-woodshed game for the Bills. I don't know why. Maybe I'm puffing my chest out after the Kansas City
I think
game.
the Bills are going to be there. We'll see. They still got to get it done, and the Tennessee Titans aren't going anywhere. They're a good team.
Not. They're a tough team.
But I think mentally, that's where the Bills
you guys are intoxicated right now on the Bills. This is normally my thing, where I say, they're going to destroy them by 50. Wow.
Far be it Kyle Brandt to be the voice of reason.
I might be a little drunk. I might be a little drunk on the Kool-Aid. I'll admit to drinking the Kool-Aid pretty heavily, but mentally, I look for things for this team, because this team's got a lot to fight against now, but everything this team now is looking at going forward after this Chiefs win is internal. They got to find a way to continue this good play for another 3 months before they actually get to another game that matters. They got to get to the playoffs now. They've got to stay healthy. They've got to stay motivated against teams that are coming in. Like, they got to play Jacksonville. Jacksonville may be over when they play them. I mean, there's a chance, and you got to find a way to dredge up some emotion for that. And I think those are the battles they're going to fight for the rest of the season.
I think so too, Steve. And listen, if that's the battle that they're going to fight with, then they just won the heavyweight title of pure BS in the media this last week. I have to give them a gold medal. The amount of BS that they were spewing about, this game and Arrowhead, just another game and 1 week at a time. Like, Josh Allen was Daniel Day-Lewis about that stuff. I'm talking about before. I'm talking about after. He just won an Arrowhead by 18 points. And this guy's adrenaline surges. He goes crazy. And he's talking to the reporter. Yeah, well, it's a long season. I'm like, Josh, you are maybe a better actor than you are a quarterback, because we know what that meant for him. I got to talk to him, as we know, last spring for an hour. And I said, dude, you guys lost in the title game at Arrowhead. How much do you think about it? And he didn't even hesitate. He said, every day. The Chiefs are what the Patriots used to be. We have to go through them and take them out to get to where we need to go. I mean, it was the perfect answer. But then, man, does he have a way of locking it in. I guess that's that McDermott factor of every soundbite was just like a corpse. There was no emotion, no nothing. Assassin-like, and I totally respect it, and yet I'm totally calling BS on it because we knew that one was special.
Right. Just
Coach McDermott is better at going full-blown Skeletor, at the podium after the game. He is like Robert Parrish, stone-faced.
But they're going to need it, to Steve's point. Like, they're going to need that tool throughout the year, because what do we got, 12 games left, and he's got to pretend like Jacksonville really scares you. I mean, they're good. They're very good players and very good actors.
We're not even at Halloween yet.
What do you think? Just give me a thumbnail about the AFC right now, because you got the Chargers have come. We thought they might be good this year, but they're better than that. They're very good.
It's awesome.
Tennessee's at the top of their division. The Bills are at the top of the East. Baltimore, an impressive comeback win yesterday. And Lamar really, I mean, we've talked about Josh Allen haters for a long time. He was so polarizing. Lamar, man, you talk about putting a muzzle on some hate last night, throwing for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in a comeback win. Unbelievable in overtime. So the AFC has got some guys throwing the football now that with Mahomes, Josh, Herbert, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence when he takes another step forward, Baker Mayfield. I mean,
stacked, man.
Goodness gracious.
It's awesome, man.
It is awesome. It is awesome.
We wake up every single morning and we're like a cat chasing a laser pointer on the carpet. We don't know which AFC quarterback is the best. And let's bear in mind, a couple of weeks ago, like Derek Carr looked like he was the MVP. You keep going and going, and Teddy Bridgewater was 3-0. So who knows if these guys will have the staying power, but it's starting to feel like it did back in the 80s when it was all these great AFC quarterbacks every single week they go against. I mean, Steve, you were there. And I don't know who to throw in with. We had a conversation this morning, the stupidest, easiest conversation in Good Morning Football. Just pull up a bar stool and just say, okay, who's the best quarterback in the league? Just who's the best? Take that any way you want. Who's playing the best? Who's the best ever? If you had to win one game, which would you want? And it was all these different answers. And it was, Brady, he's the greatest ever. But hold on a second. Schrager says, I think Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. And I said, is Josh Allen better than Rodgers? I don't know. And then Kyler Murray looks amazing. Like, we don't know what to do with ourselves. We can't. We're supposed to have 5 great quarterbacks, and the rest of them are either terrible or middling. It's like we have 12. We're not even. You know how good Dak Prescott's been this year? He's been amazing, and he doesn't even find his way into the conversation. You're talking just the young AFC guys, and they're great. I don't know how we're going to get through the playoffs. It's like going to be the most stacked field we've had in years.
Yeah, and meanwhile, at the bottom of the conference is 3/4 of the AFC East, which has quickly become like the division of reclamation projects aside from the Bills. And, I mean, I'll take every opportunity to dump on the Dolphins every chance I get. But their defensive philosophy, Kyle, defies any and all logic because they say to themselves, we got Xavier Howard, we got Byron Jones. Yep. We're playing man-to-man defense the whole game. I don't care what quarterback we're going against. We're playing man-to-man. Memo to the Dolphins, you don't have a pass rush. You can't play man-to-man for a whole game when you have to have guys cover for 6 and 7 seconds. It is football suicide, and yet they continue to do it. They did against Brady for 3.5 quarters, and he torched them, just like every other quarter. Somebody explain to me what the hell is going on in Miami aside from missing on the quarterback in the first place.
You know what it is, Brownie? Like, it's the stubbornness, and I think it's almost the Belichickian stubbornness coming from Flores. Last year, they won 11 games because they would always have a defensive touchdown. They would always have a scoop and score or a pick six. And they just kept lucking into these things. They would have a blocked punt return for a touchdown. Like, no, we have a thing that works here, and our defense is opportunistic. A lot of times, opportunistic is just a word for a crappy defense that gets lucky. They were very opportunistic last year, and this year they're not. They don't look like they make any sort of impact at all nationally. The Jets, obviously, are probably going to be maybe a 2 or 3 win team. And then I don't know. If I'm a Bills fan, I want the Patriots dead and out of it. I wanted them losing that game to the Texans. Yeah. I'm not afraid of them. We've handled them. But if I want them mathematically out of the equation, and I still think that they're sort of lurking. There's a ton of 2 and 3 teams that sort of matter. I want those guys out of them.
Yeah, plus because, the Patriots are going to be better in November and December like they always are under Belichick.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I don't think the Patriots are going anywhere. And I think the last 3 teams in the standings in the AFC, Cincinnati, Denver, Las Vegas. If the playoffs started today, Cincinnati, Denver, Las Vegas. Vegas has a big arrow pointing down right now because of the Gruden situation.
Get the Wile E. Coyote TNT pack for
Cleveland is right there. They're at number 8. New England is number 9. Pittsburgh and Kansas City are 10 and 11. All of 4 of those teams think they're getting there. Cincinnati, interesting to me, 3-2. I don't know how long it'll last, particularly in that division. But I think right now I'd take Cincinnati over Pittsburgh, which is where they're sitting in the standings. Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how good Cincinnati can get in 1 year and how good Joe Burrow can be. If you get another guy like Joe, I mean, it's amazing. The quarterback situation is, you got Carson Wentz, playing well.
400 yards last night.
He threw for 400.
It was like the game
night.
of his life. I know.
And they're the 15th ranked team in the conference.
You're right. You're right. I don't know. I look at Cincinnati like they're one of these cryptocurrencies. Like you're hearing about it, and they're saying like it's going to be huge, and just wait and wait. And they're like, wow, it is kind of exciting and sexy, and maybe I should invest in this. And the young people in my life tell me it's going everywhere. I don't know. We'll see. There's still a lot of risk involved and a lot of injury risk. Whereas I think the team in that division, look, Baltimore looked great last night. If I'm a Bills fan, I'm looking very closely at Cleveland. Some of the same things I mentioned. First of all, they have the thoroughbreds in the pass rush. Like they could get after Josh, as we saw in week 1 when the Steelers did it. And then they have the best running game in the league, I think. Those guys are crazy. I don't think you can beat the Bills with Odell Beckham and Baker Mayfield, but man, Chubb and Hunt and Clowney and Garrett, like that's the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. I think Cleveland is still very scary, even though they lost this weekend to LA.
Yeah. Cleveland was the first team in NFL history to score over 40 points, have no turnovers, and lose.
Right.
It was 401-0, and now it is 401-1. That was a very Brownsian thing to do last week by Cleveland, no question about it. Where do you come down on – because everybody's talking about Josh and the offense, but the Bills' defense is like number 1 in like 7 categories. I know they've played against 3 backup quarterbacks. I get it. But they just played against Mahomes. He scored the 3rd fewest points in his 51 starts of his career. It's only the 3rd time it was 20 points or less for KC. Is this defense going to get credit? Because it's not a sexy, we got 75 sacks defense in a season. You know, they take the ball away. They're good at that. I just don't know if they're going to get their just due because they're going to get overshadowed by Josh in this passing game.
No, they are. And they're not going to get their just due. I'll break it to you right now. And that's not going to happen. In fact, I already saw it unraveling after the Chiefs game. Mahomes has 3 turnovers, including 2 interceptions. And it's, one was off Tyreek's hands. Well, maybe Tyreek thought he was going to get hit. Did that look like a Tyreek play? And the other one was on a deflected pass. No, hold on a second. The other one was on a rookie playing in his 5th game ever who stared in the face of the number 1 rated player in the NFL as voted by his peers, deflected the ball, had the wherewithal to catch it. Like, that was an incredible play. Give Groot all the credit for this. If this was TJ Watt, everyone would be throwing it up in the rafters and saying this is an NFL Hall of Fame play, put him first ballot. That was an awesome play by a neophyte player in the NFL against the guy who's supposed to run the whole league. So they should get their credit. I worked with multiple people who were saying, well, they weren't real interceptions from Mahomes. Yes, they were. Shut up. That's your answer, though. They won't. Until they start shutting out more people. I don't know. When's the last time a team had 3 shutouts in an NFL season? I bet you'd have to go back a long way. They have 2 in 5 games. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's probably the team that I remember having so many shutouts was the 2000 Ravens, where they
were the last one to have 2 in the first 4 games. Yeah,
I think it's
that's
the
pretty
Ravens.
good company.
21 years ago.
I think they had 5 for the season, maybe. I'll go back and check. But yeah, you're right. It's hard to do. I mean, because you think you take it out of gear defensively as well. You start playing soft. Your offense scores whatever. You get up by double digits, by 3 scores, and you don't care if they get a field goal. Yeah. So shutting out a team is really hard to do. And yeah, the way the Bills team is playing, they're plus 11 in takeaways, which is unbelievable. It's 100 and plus point
plus 108
differential.
We are drunk.
Here's my thing.
We are drunk, Kyle. Sorry.
Well, Brownie,
totally
didn't you
drunk.
predict they're gonna shut out the Titans on Monday night 50-0?
No,
Wasn't that your
but
prediction?
I'll say this: their biggest problem now is sustaining it for another 3 months. Yeah. It's a long season. It's longer than it's ever been, and to play this good this early speaks to me that, man, you get to the end, it's like, wow, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so give us the score, Kyle, before we let you go here.
All right, so
we'll throw it on the whiteboard.
I'll give you the score with my last rhetorical question is, do they have are they at the mental makeup, this team, where one of these weeks they're going to get caught and they're going to your point, drink the Kool-Aid, and hubris will kick in and say, oh, we're the Bills. Everyone has us number 1. I don't know yet. Well, that's a McDermott thing, and we will find out. However, I'm going to zag to your guys zigging. I think that they are going to beat the Tennessee Titans 21-20. Low scoring, a little bit sloppy, maybe overconfident, and they will have a key field goal at the end of the game. But 21-20, the Titans play them very tough.
Tyler Bassamatic with the win. I'm going to make a prediction of my own, Kyle Brandt, for your 10 questions. You threw out the billionaire choices.
Oh, yeah, what do you got?
I don't know. I'm going to try to read into the kind of entertainer you try to be, and I think you're going to go off the rails. I'm going with Ballmer here because he's a wild man. That's my pick. We'll see if I'm right or wrong.
Brownie, the question was tomorrow on the 10 Questions podcast on Spotify, I have a outspoken billionaire owner. Is it Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavericks, Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, or your selection, Steve Ballmer, the owner of the LA Clippers?
So
one of them joins me
here,
for an
Steve.
hour tomorrow. Who did you think, Steve?
I'll go with Jerry.
Jerry.
I'll go with Jerry because Hard Knocks. I just think that Jerry would be, would acquiesce to a thing like that. That's in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I think he's more like now. Cuban is obvious. Cuban's a guy who's very comfortable.
That's why I went Ballmer.
Cuban seems the easy answer.
Yeah, that's why I went Ballmer. I kind of went with the outlier. I went with the outlier because he's excitable. He's a little nutty.
Yeah, all three of them. I think any one
Kyle
of the
could
three,
have a blast with Ballmer.
Any one of those three or all of them would be great interviews. I'm sure that'd be a lot of fun.
We look forward
congratulations to you. I'm going to look forward to it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks as always, Kyle. We'll catch up with you next week.